Hey, this is Warren Bird, Research Director at Leadership Network. I have the privilege of talking with Jon Pyle, one of the campus directors at CityChurch Bandera Road. That's a multi-site church in San Antonio, Texas. It was started in 1992. And Jon said to me recently, hey, we did something creative where our creative thinking led to clarifying our vision. Jon, what was it that happened?
Yeah, we were actually at a leadership network event and we were doing one of these silly assignments, and it can be hard when you get out on a team. It's easy to make fun of it and kind of elbow each other like, what is this going to do to help us? And we were supposed to draw a movie poster as it was related to our vision for what the future would be for City Church. And so, we started doing the assignment, kind of joking around and thinking about it. But as we went on this creative endeavor and doing this creative exercise, we were blown away about what we found. And it was interesting because we all took the journey together. It really took us out of our comfort zone. You can't really have creativity with comfort. So it took everyone out of our comfort zone together. And by going all in and fully participating in this creative exercise, that's way different than anything we would have done at home, we found clarity for our vision. And it's a clarity that's driving our church to this day and giving us some of the core future principles that we're pursuing.
Unpack that a little bit. What about the vision brought clarity, and what was the movie in particular you were describing?
Yeah, we made a poster for a mocking Lord of the Rings. That was the thing that we talked about, Lord of the Rings. And our vision kind of clarified, it congealed, if you will, into 3 circles. And so that's why it came to Lord of the Rings, because we thought of the circles as rings. And we came up with 3 circles that were going to guide our church into the future. They've actually changed. So originally it was multi-site, online campus, and campus expansion, but they've morphed into what they are and kind of lands on now a city school, which is a whole different kind of deal that we're doing, a digital platform, and campus expansion, and we've kind of substituted social justice depending on what's going on. But these have been the principles that have, in the last year, guided all of our thinking about what's next for our church and what the future is.
So did the exercise have you kind of sort through the cafeteria of all that Bandera Road is doing and say, okay, Lord, what are the 3 anchors or rings? How did it bring the clarity?
Yeah, well, the exercise, we've been kind of putting a bunch of thoughts on paper throughout the experience, and this one was to sum it all up. And what it required us to do, first we had to think of a movie. Okay, what movie would describe our situation and what we want to do in the future? And as we started to think through that, we started to hear among all the team that was there 3 basic principles of what we felt like we needed to concentrate on in the future. Just 3 simple things. And we go, okay, 3 simple things. Well, what if they were 3 circles and somebody literally grabbed a cup and traced the cup and interlaced the circles? And we go, well, that's like kind of like Lord of the Rings. Like, even though that was 1 ring, this is multiple rings. So let's think about Lord of the Rings. Okay, that's our creative idea, and we're going to organize everything we think around these 3 circles.
And has it helped you by having kind of more simplicity, that you only have 3 kind of big buckets or circles to work from? Tell me how it's helped.
Yeah, it's been hugely significant because before we had the dissonant thoughts of a bunch of different people. And, your senior pastor is thinking one thing, and then you have campus pastors thinking another, and your worship guys, and we don't have a common vocabulary, and we don't have a simple foundation. That's the best way for us to talk about it, as it's one thing that we all know, that we can all talk about, that everyone can get. And
now, what was your senior pastor part of that discussion?
He was part of that discussion. And so on the day-to-day, you don't always get the kind of clarity of developing one foundational principle or one foundational theme together.
Now, was this awkward in that, are you used to like Moses going up on the mountain and coming down with the word of the Lord? Because this sounds like it was a very collaborative, what has God been saying, and kind of everybody together landing the plane or the thought.
I tease our senior guys a lot, but they're rarely doing Moses moments and this is the vision and you shall accept this. It's very rare for that to happen here. So we are used to collaboration, However, it's rare for all of us to get together. And when you collaborate, one of the ways you can kind of get an idea of where your organization is going, and in some ways the spiritual piece of what God might be doing, is to find what's common in everybody's vision. So it's almost like putting everybody's thoughts on the table and going, well, you have this, you have this, you have this, you have this. That's not insignificant. We're people that pray, we're people that read the Bible. So in our lives, we're all identifying these three things in what we're talking about. And that's what kind of united them. And so the collaborative piece was, there are tense moments because there are disagreements about exactly what that looks like, but there is collaboration built into our culture that helps.
Final question, Jon. Your church has actually been part of a whole lot of leadership network things. You did Missional Renaissance, Women Executive Pastors, What's Next, Recovery Ministry, City Impact, and so forth. That means each time, going away from San Antonio, bringing a team, there's money, there's time. What has been, from your perspective, the chief value of doing that by going away and hanging out with other churches as opposed to just doing something yourself or with the church next door?
That's an excellent question. This is my first one, but here's what I've identified and what I've talked to some other folks about. Forcing you out of your comfort zone, forcing you to get out of your day-to-day where the day-to-day doesn't rule. Because when we're at our church, even if we have a vision, big picture meeting, somebody's got to take a text because we've got this problem going on or whatever. So number one, getting out of our comfort zone is huge. Number two, the folks at the Leadership Network serve as facilitators, which really, really helps you, again, get creative. So without the movie poster exercise, which is a little bit silly, we wouldn't have this clarified vision. We couldn't have done that on our own because it's hard to push yourself out of your comfort zone. The third piece, interacting with other churches, is fantastic. Not only do you get ideas of what's working and what God is doing elsewhere, it requires you to get clarity about who you are and what you want to do. Because you have to introduce yourself, you have to talk about it, and you can't use shorthand because they don't know your acronyms, they don't know your program names, they aren't familiar with your situations. So you really have to get clear when you're talking to other churches who don't have the context. And so all three of those things work together, and it is supremely, supremely helpful in getting some clarity for vision and helping for whatever you're doing with Leadership Network.
Well, thanks for those insights. Jon Pyle, West Campus Director, CityChurch Bandera Road, San Antonio, Texas. God's best to you.
Thank you.